Buenos dias. Today I have three segments for you. First off, we have the daily updates on the markets. Second, we have breaking Cosmos Hub and Atom news. We actually have a roadmap. We have a roadmap until June that is packed with a lot of exciting things. And then also we have a new format here on CryptoCito called the NFT Zone. But first off, let's start with the markets. $60,000 Bitcoin fell. We saw a huge dump across the board, especially for altcoins, but now also Bitcoin giving in, losing 8% on the day. To my surprise, the top gainer, at least now in the top two, but it's actually been the top gainer overnight, is our beloved Cosmos Hub and Atom, and we climbed up some rankings, still outside of the top 30. And this might be linked to the new roadmap that was just announced by Informal and Haifa. We're going to go through this entire report in a second. But what you can also see is here, nice volume for Atom, $370 million almost, up 5% almost, $8.32. Obviously, this is still extremely low, but yeah, it's a nice little pump. And honestly, it's refreshing to see that Atom is able to do that in those market circumstances. If you look at the fear and greed indicator, which shows where's kind of the market sentiment right now, we can see that from the week before we were at 67, now we dropped to 54. And in the next update, which happens in 14.5 hours, we might actually dip below 50, right? And if we look historically how kind of the sentiment evolved, we see that we really bottomed out here in June and summer of 2022. Summers are also usually more kind of boring, sideways, slightly downwards. So that's also where the saying sell in May, go away comes from. And this might also be the case this year. There is a very important event happening later today, though, which is the Fed's decision on rate cuts, right? On interest rates. The decision is due, and Powell will also give a speech. And as always, these meetings will have immediate impact on the crypto prices, right? Cryptocurrencies are the most sensitive, the most time sensitive to those meetings, to those announcements. So watch out for that, definitely. And yeah, that's all for kind of the general news. If we look into the Cosmos ecosystem more specifically, we can see that besides Atom, we also see Flix up 7% today. The top losers today, we have IXO 19%. We talked about this a lot. Very thin liquidity, very low trading volumes. Saga now for the first time, I think, below $3, another 13% down today. Also Nomi down 13%, Mars, and so on and so forth. So those look really ugly, to be honest. Also evmos, 4 cents now, making all-time low after all-time low. Crescent, we talked about this. You should also withdraw all your assets from the Crescent network. This chain is going to shut down. Humans AI also down 10%. So yeah, it's really, really not looking nice on those altcoins here in the Cosmos ecosystem. But this also might be some good entries here, right? Especially for the ones that are actively shipping, actively building, that are still, you know, well-funded, sufficiently funded, or are preparing for any sort of new fundraisers. I think those are some coins to keep an eye on. And then before I get into the Cosmos Hub roadmap, we have a new chain joining the Interchain, joining the IBC gang. And Althea has actually been a project around for many, many years, led by Deborah, who has also been involved in building an EVM bridge, which then became Gravity Bridge, which was then deployed also by projects like Sommelier and many others. So Althea is, though, a DePIN project, so decentralized physical infrastructure network, that's been around in the kind of disrupting the telecom industry for many years. I also met up with Deborah here a couple of months ago in Dubai, and the Althea network itself is optimized for enabling a liquid infrastructure for RWA assets like fiber cables and cell towers. So this is a new DePIN play in the Cosmos ecosystem. I'm not sure if they are going to do any sort of airdrop or a kind of incentive for the kind of general crypto community or Cosmos community. Maybe there's going to be incentives for like actual kind of partners and product users. But yeah, anyways, in any case, it will be great to see the Interchain growing. Now let's get into the main topic for today, which is the new Cosmos Hub roadmap, right? This is actually the quarterly oversight committee report. And they also gave an outlook for the Q2 roadmap, basically, with some very, very exciting items on that roadmap, which I want to dissect here. So here's the short form tweet on the @CosmosHub Twitter account, which you should be watching. If you're only following the Cosmos account, by the way, you're not doing it right, because the Cosmos account is covering the entirety of the Cosmos ecosystem, right? The Cosmos Hub account is dedicated to updates around the Cosmos Hub and Atom as an asset, right? And like this tagline is implying, which I wrote, by the way, I think over 2 years ago, the Cosmos Hub is an interchain service provider in Cosmos and home of Atom. And interchain service provider is now expanding from security also towards liquidity, and eventually also to other services that are adding value to other chains in the ecosystem. If you want to go through the detailed report, which was shared here by Brian, big shout out, Brian. Also, if he was the one writing that report, it's an amazing report, whoever wrote it, but thanks anyways, Brian, for sharing that. Whoever wrote it, it's a very, very insightful report, also very transparent report, because remember that Informal system is actually funded by the Cosmos Hub treasury. They made an on-chain proposal last year and got funding for the entire year to develop many things around the Cosmos Hub, but to basically be the kind of core engineering team that develops the Cosmos Hub, shared security, and also other modules and other initiatives. And this report is basically segmented into 3 parts. Number 1, a Q1 retro. Number 2, a summary of the oversight committee meeting and grades. And 3, which is probably most exciting, Q2 plans for the Cosmos Hub. And I just want to go briefly through some of the key highlights from this entire report, starting off with the Q1 retro. One thing that stuck out here obviously is partial set security. They accomplished 100% of their technical goals for this quarter. And remember also how they had this signaling proposal that passed with a vast majority of the people being in favor for that upgrade to come. And the core value proposition for partial set security is that it makes the onboarding for new consumer chains, for new Atom secured chains, much more easy and also a lot more scalable, right? Because right now it all has to go through on-chain governance, and the current version allows for a lot less flexibility. So PSS is going to fix that. Then they shared an update on Atomic IBC, which is probably one of the most promising technological features that a Cosmos Hub might offer in the future as an interchain service provider. And they have built a prototype for the Megablocks architecture, which is able to run multiple Cosmos SDK state machines on a single common BFT instance. This is still in the kind of early research phase, and apparently they've put together an all-star collaboration of core Cosmos teams, which will be announced soon. So this is a very interesting thing that I want you to also do your kind of homework on and also to read more upon. Then there's also an update on IBC routing, which kind of goes hand in hand with Atomic IBC, because they also figured out that this makes most sense in a rollup centric environment. And they are now working more closely with Polymer, which is the team that created IBC routing. I also remember talking about this with Jack Zampolin many years ago, and I think there's even a proposal that passed from Jack to add the IBC routing module or something like that years ago. So I wonder if also Strangelove is involved there, but definitely Polymer, which is also interesting to see that they are collaborating with Informal on that. Then I also share an update here on Atom Wars, which is basically protocol-owned liquidity, which would expand the business scope for the Cosmos Hub from purely being a security provider to also be a liquidity provider and have a business model around that. So right now what we're seeing a lot is protocols like the recent Agoric proposal for kind of this Atom that they requested to mint IST basically. But even liquid staking providers like pStake or Stride, they just go to the Cosmos Hub treasury, they ask for Atom, and then they would use those Atom to basically increase the TVL of their products, right? With Atom Wars, there's actually going to be a clearer guideline and a clearer business model for the Cosmos Hub and Atom to not only kind of make money in case the product or the usage of those atoms in that protocol is generating any profit, but also just for lending out that liquidity. Cosmos Hub would make money from that, right? So this is basically the goal of Atom Wars, which is now called Hydro, by the way. So we're going to look into that. There's more information on that. And what stood out to me the most in Q1 was basically the BD efforts by Informal to onboarding new consumer chains, right? Stride and Neutron are the ones that are currently live, that are fully Atom secured. And now we have a list of chains that are going to use PSS once it's live. We have Aether, which is an EVM hub in Cosmos, Althea Network, which is a perp stacks. Then we have Lorenzo Protocol, which is a Bitcoin L2 that is using Babylon technology underneath and aims to be Atom secured as well. This one is very, very, very promising. I also talked to the founder a couple of weeks ago. They are very, very committed and very, very legit from the initial conversations I had with them. And then the Babylon integration itself, right, which is probably one of the biggest and most important partnerships the Cosmos Hub currently has. And then you might already see it here. Eigenlayer is also now here on that roadmap. And they also mentioned here that they're also starting another effort to integrate Eigenlayer security to keep the Cosmos Hub relevant as a larger security provider to enter the picture. And this is very, very bullish in my view for the Cosmos Hub as a security aggregator, right? From that perspective, I actually talked about this a lot months ago that I would love to see this. And I'm very pleased to see that there are now serious efforts to integrate eigenlayer security. And now let's go into the Q2 roadmap for the Cosmos Hub by Informal. We see 4 major events, right? The first one that is supposed to go down in May is the V16 upgrade, which brings ICA controllers, epochs, IBC fees, and IBC rate limiting. I talked about IBC rate limiting in one of my recent videos. So those are important updates and make the Cosmos Hub kind of always the most updated version in the Cosmos ecosystem when it comes to the base tech stack. Then we have Gaia V17, which is the big upgrade that will bring ICS 2.0 with partial set security, and that would also then unleash a lot of consumer chains to kind of join. And this is planned to go down in June. So we're literally a month and a half away. Then we have the Babylon integration in DevNet. That's a very, very important one. And I think around that time is also when Babylon itself is very, very close to fully launch and launch mainnet, launch the token and those kind of things. And then the last item, we have Hydro V1, which is basically Atom Wars and, protocol on liquidity for the Cosmos Hub. And in the rest of the post, they're sharing and commenting on every single item on that list, on that roadmap with KPIs. So the KPIs for shared security is that ICS 2.0 is in production in the first week of June. And at least one consumer chain launched on ICS during Q2. We have a lot of them lined up, like I said earlier. So this sounds very realistic. Kind of Gaia upgrades is V16, 17, and 18. 16 in production, 17 with ICS 2.0 live on mainnet. And for V18 to then include CosmWasm. Remember this proposal that passed to bring permission CosmWasm on the hub very recently. So in V18 is when this feature should be implemented. And I think this would change a lot of the Cosmos Hub game and its relevance in the broader Cosmos ecosystem. Then we have security aggregation, the Babylon integration, which is a big one, like I said. And the KPI for that is ADR and signaling proposal on the firm in early May. And Informal is part of the code to be then ready by mid-June. So this is also very, very soon. The next one, Hydro or Atom Wars protocol on liquidity. KPI for that is audit and testnet deployment mid-May, production deployment end of June. Then another big one, CosmWasm on the hub. They actually want to write 3 proposals for that to really specify all the guidelines for how they would look like and how this will be embedded into the Gaia V18 upgrade. So this one is a bit further out, but you can also see here their kind of breakdown of their efforts. And CosmWasm here right now is only at 5% right now in terms of their priority. So this is something probably towards the end of the second quarter where they really start working on that. Now it's all eyes on interchain security 2.0, Atom Wars security aggregation, and general maintenance, all equally important. And then security aggregation, which takes kind of the biggest share of the engineering efforts after general maintenance. Now let's move over to our new segment, the Cito NFT Zone. And we want to do this because we also want to focus more on working products that are actually out there for the community, for you guys, for me, for all of us to actually use, right? I think this channel is a lot focused on infrastructure, on theoretical concepts, on modularity and explaining all these kind of things. They're very educational, those things. But also I think moving forward, we want to do it more and more practical, right? And I think NFTs are a great way. NFTs are a community culture in the end of the day. Stargaze is a culture platform that nurtures and fosters community culture in Cosmos. There's certainly a lot more platforms and networks that are focused on that. They're focused also on kind of different niches, right? We also talked a lot about Passage, for example, that is focused on the virtual worlds. We talked a lot about Omniflix that are focused a lot on also streaming services and those kind of things. Today, we're going to start with an update on some of the hot NFTs in the Stargaze ecosystem and some of the developments on the Stargaze network itself. So we're going to be covering some of the updates around interchain NFTs with the Mona Lisa sloth. And that is this beauty here, which is ranked 5 on the rarity rank. And this one was last sold for 555,550 stars tokens, which equal almost 12,000 US dollars. And the Celestine Sloth Society collection is still by volume ranked 1 in the Cosmos ecosystem and has a floor price above the Bad Kids floor price. Note, however, that it only has a quarter of the supply of Bad Kids. So in total market cap, Bad Kids are still much bigger than Sloth. But yeah, Sloth has just seen insane growth over the past couple of weeks, ever since it launched. Who's behind it? Inclusion, Zaki, also Nick White from Celestia is a big proponent of it. We even did a full interview here in Dubai in person with Nick White, who also talked with him about the Sloth collection. There are some nice NFTs that are listed here. I told you guys I really want one. I haven't really bought one yet, but I have this on my list, right? And the floor price right now is around $3,000, 176,000 stars tokens. So still super high, but it also came down a little bit. If you look here at the floor price in dollar terms, yeah, we're down to kind of this more recent local floor here, or local bottom of around $3,000. We went as high as almost $5,000 here recently, right? Just a couple of days ago. So that's the Sloth collection. It's a new collection, but it's also already a very iconic collection on Cosmos. Then we had a record Mad Scientist sale. Mad Scientists are a new NFT collection that actually is native to the Osmosis ecosystem. And this friend here was last sold for 300,000 stars, or $6,500 just recently. And Mad Scientist is also a brand new collection. We talked about this a lot here as well with the lab tokens. I even did a giveaway. I'm still waiting for the winner to confirm the wallet address. So if you're watching this, if you're not replying in the next 1 or 2 days, I'll have to pick a new winner. But yeah, please check your comment on YouTube and your email. And also this feature was just rolled out, provenance, which basically means what is the origin chain where this NFT was minted, right? And for Mad Scientist NFTs, they were originally minted on Osmosis, but through ICS 721, which is an interchain NFT standard in Cosmos where NFTs can float around natively between those different chains. You can now mint an NFT on Osmosis, for example, but you can trade it on Stargaze. And Stargaze being an app chain for NFTs, an NFT marketplace that's application specific to that use case, makes a lot of sense to kind of just rally behind that, right? Instead of building your own NFT marketplace on your own DeFi chain, for example, just use Stargaze, right? It's built for that, right? And the whole community, culture, and liquidity and user activity is already here on Stargaze. So I think that makes the most sense. Then we also have Pixel Wizards, which is also an NFT collection that I've always seen around, but I never really did deep research on. But they now have done a one-to-one airdrop for Pixel Wizard sprites. So if you held an original Pixel Wizard NFT, you now got sprites, and yeah, they can do cool stuff like that. So I think this is also a very creative NFT collection, and also very unique to Cosmos and very unique to Stargaze. So check that out as well, and check your wallet if you got this airdrop. And lastly, I want to leave you with some airdrop alpha on NFTs. That's also why we want to cover this, because I think NFTs are getting more and more relevant for the airdrop game. So we have now here Ambient Finance that came out with BM, which stands for Bad Morning, and it's always an indication that they like the bad kids community. So this might be a hint towards airdropping tokens to the bad kids community. And we also have Mitosis that announced eligibility for their points for Bad Kids, Sloth, and Mad Scientist NFT holders. You have to register your NFT here in Discord, which is something I personally have never done. I'm also a bit kind of scared. I don't really like Discord, to be honest. It's a jungle where you can get really scammed easily. So be aware of that, be cautious. There's also referrals, kind of a referral system around that, so you can check that out as well. But yeah, apparently you get 15,000 points, I think, if you register your NFT there. And this might later translate into tokens. And if you're wondering about Mitosis itself, Mitosis is an ecosystem-owned liquidity L1 blockchain that redefines the DeFi LP experience. So this is all around DeFi. I think this is also closely Osmosis aligned, if I'm not mistaken. I think the team behind is also some of the core engineers that have been working on Ion, which was on Osmosis or still is on Osmosis. So check that out as well. I don't know too much about Mitosis, so maybe I should follow them, and you should follow them as well to be up to date. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this update. We talked about a lot today, but I think, yeah, this is also something you should be doing during those times, is to educate yourself, right? And be on top of the things, keep learning, keep studying, don't lose faith. Those days like today are actually great opportunities to accumulate more, accumulate, right? This is business as usual. Crypto is 90% suffering and 10% glory. So I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and be good.